Hello, Chassos. Been a while. Well, I'm not properly back, and at the end of this video, I'll be talking about the personal stuff. So for anybody who likes me as a creator and wants to know what's been going on and what the future looks like, then hang around to the end of the video. But there is something that I've been cooking up before the last starter slate, and it got better during this starter slate, where I believe I have stumbled onto what is a new archetype of list that fundamentally changes the way that Tau plays. And this is, it started as a meme. Credit to Dubsy, who put this in our Discord and was like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if I did this? And then I started thinking about it and started building on it. And I think we have stumbled into one of the strongest archetypes of Tau gameplay, which fundamentally changes everything that you think you know about having to play this faction. I know it's easy to slip into hyperbole, but I genuinely mean this. Let me introduce you to the Immortal Tau list. Before we get into it, as always, make sure that you're doing all the internet things, liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. Or don't. I'm not your dad. I'm his. I know we are on a little bit of a forced hiatus. The break won't last forever, and we will be back to making content and streaming and doing all that sort of stuff. Again, personal stuff at the end. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jay, you look like you climbed out of a hole from fighting bears or something, which I'll remind you, this is Australia. We don't have bears. We have worse. And two, what kind of new archetype of list could you possibly have when we're this deep within 10th? Well, it's called the Immortal Tau list for a couple of key reasons. What we are talking about is an experimental prototype Carter list, which is backed by a few key units and then having variable supporting units around it, which makes different styles of the list function. At its core, what we're talking about is triple Ghost Keel, triple Riptide, and at the very least, double two-man broadsides. This list is immortal for the starting point having nothing but 2-up armor saves on a bunch of different units. Then you throw in the fact that there are defensive layers on each of these units outside of just the armor save value, which can be mitigated by armor penetration. Broadsides, I have actually, for the first time in all of 10th, had the 4-up against mortal wounds actually matter, because there are a ton of devastating wounds now count as mortal wounds. You've got grenades, you've got tank shock, you've got stank shock from Death Guard. There are so many of these out there. Playing in 1,000 Suns, they don't want to hear that all of their mortal wounds can be mitigated by this incredibly tanky 2-up armor save unit. The Ghost Keel. Before this list archetype, it was already hard to shift. Then throw on top of it that you've got your, stealth drones, stealth, lone op, and on top of that we're going to have access to 2 strats, which make it very obnoxious, -1 to wound and being able to heal. And you've got a unit that is actually really, really difficult for people to remove, and there's 3 of them. And then behind that, you've got the Riptides, which are T9 with a 4-up invuln save, access to the same strats, and on top of that, this list archetype, and I have proof of this in my Discord, we were cooking this before the data slate. And then the Ion Accelerator changed, going up to strength 9 and 10 on non-overcharged, overcharged respectively. And this list was good before that change. And now we've got 5 legitimate anti-tank units. Now, all of this functions because of experimental prototype Carter. Aside from making the shoulder-mounted fusion blasters go to 18 inches, all of the guns getting extra 6 inches is really, really great, but it really functions because of the strat support that you've got available within it. And this is the crazy thing to me, that this is why it was kind of a meme, because Tau's never lent into defenses. But as you would have noticed, for anybody who's played competitively in almost any scene, the more you can stack into a particular attribute, generally the more effective that becomes. I raid Mythic in WoW, you want to fit every bit of damage amplification that you can within your damage cooldowns, thereby creating this leap out ahead of DPS. And it's a similar thing for if we need to survive a particular phase of a boss encounter, you will layer certain defensive things on top of one another, making your raid team near immortal. Add on top of that with good play and positioning, using your lone ops effectively, using your scout moves effectively, half of this army infiltrates. And let's get into the list itself and the version that I've come down on, and I'll let you know about some of the changes that you can make. But your opponent not only has to get in range to be able to shoot your stuff or into melee, it not only has to get through some of your defensive layers, then you've also got strat support on top. And if they don't kill you, you can heal in both players' command phases, which is like... and it's D3 plus 1. It is, very often you are getting 3 wounds back as an average, because that's how a D3 works. All right, so in terms of the list, heading it up, we have an Ethereal as your warlord and your only character. Now, it was very hard for me to not put in a commander with one of the special guns, but this is the best way I've had for it to work. And this list archetype is semi-CP dependent in order to function. And this Ethereal allows you to get a CP 50% of the time. Now, I haven't been super happy with it. I wish we had other CP generation or reduction characters like other armies do, but the single Ethereal has been effective. It can hang out on the home field, or it can sit in strat reserve. And because of the ability for units to use abilities that don't specify a range, while in strategic reserve, you are able to generate that CP even while he's not on the board. It has a core of, as I said, 2 two-man broadsides. I've gone with heavy rail rifles. I need the anti-tank, seeker missiles, and twin smart missile systems. I have played around with swapping out the SMS for the ignore mods weapon support system. Honestly, that or the plasma, all of it is effective depending on what you want to go into. I wanted the twin SMS because I wanted the extra volume just in case I ran into hordes. Eldari hiding behind a wall, I can bombard them a little bit. And with the changes to guiding, I'm able to, with the Pathfinders and the stealth suits, as long as they can see a target, mitigate the -1 to hit, and also give ignore cover. If I put onto that strat support, and this is something that I haven't gone into just yet, the offensive strats with +1 strength and -1 AP, that then makes it so the twin SMS can actually hit decently hard over the other side of the wall. The ghost kills, I've gone for triple cyclic ion rakers and twin fusion blasters. Twin fusion blasters, in my opinion, are non-negotiable, but the cyclic ion raker or the fusion collider are both good options. I've gone for the cyclic ion rakers because I wanted volume of shots, because I've already got the broadsides, and the riptides with the ion accelerator at strength 10 is kind of already doing the job that the fusion collider would go into. And with the nerfs to knights and to Death Guard, I'm not anticipating I'm going into a strict vehicle meta, though if in your local area you are going into that sort of meta, that is absolutely a fine change you can make. Nobody could fault you for that. Riptides, all of these I think are a non-negotiable outside of the shoulder-mounted weapon. Ion accelerated, double missile drone. The twin fusion blasters, you could go with the plasma or the SMS. The SMS I think is worse on the Riptides because it's only 3 shots. It's different to the broadsides ones. I'm not a super fan of it. You could go into it to mass indirect. And I think the only way that the indirect feels good is when it's massed. But the twin fusion blasters on the Riptides have just made it so, like, if people want to walk up with any sort of decent sized body, it's a fuck around and find out unit. Then supporting it, we've got a single unit of Kroot Carnivores. Sticky Objectives is amazing on this sort of list archetype. It allows you to screen effectively, hold an objective, but not actually have to have your unit standing on top of it, which means they can go out and screen your backfield and do whatever you need to. Really, really great tech. I don't think any tower list is really running without Kroot Carnivores, and for good reason. As well as the Scout move gives them a lot of mobility. Then in this list archetype, I've gone for triple Pathfinders. Now, I am a big Pathfinder believer. One, with the changes to guiding and their changes to their data sheet, they're able to be a self-sufficient missile, which goes out, and again, with experimental prototype Carter, +1 strength, -1 AP, or sustained and lethal hits, you're able to do a serious amount of damage with this unit. They function as my anti-horde because you've got a shitload of shots that Astra Militarum, Sisters, GSC, all that sort of stuff doesn't want to see, as well as taking the ion rifles for really being the best weapon option, in my opinion, that they can take. And then you'll notice that there are a difference in special drones. I've gone for one recon drone, which gives me an infiltrate unit, but then the other 2 grav inhibitor drones. And that's because with the scouts, with the ghost kills and that single Pathfinder unit infiltrating, I don't tend to need 3 units that are able to infiltrate. But the grav inhibitor drone, -2 to charge broadly on the entire unit, not just from the chassis, but from any model in the unit, means that these things can really, really control space. And I have been loving that bit of tech, and every melee matchup I've gone into, they have not wanted to see that mod at all. Which has been really great. And in my local area, World Eaters apparently are gaining a lot of traction. And it seems like from tournaments around the world, this is also the case. So having that as a tech piece is really nice. I've got 2 3-man stealth suits. There are list archetypes where we've gone into like a 6-man and a 3-man, or we've gone 3 3-mans. This is a sweet spot that I've hit where I seem to have enough guiding, and I play the stealth suits in a way where it's like max range on a line of sight. I'm not tending to use them aggressively early on and getting multiple turns of value out of them. Then a single unit of Vespid, uppy downy. In my opinion, a single unit of Vespid is non-negotiable. You need them to achieve certain secondary cards and pressure your opponent, because we don't have any deep strikers really in this list. And we don't want our opponent to freely be able to surge forward and leave their backfield open. That is just not something that I want to entertain. So, when you look at this list, you might look at it and be like, this is a meme. There's no hammerheads. There's no sky rays. There's no crisis suits. And I get the reflex, because I feel like when we saw experimental prototype carded with commander special weapons and the lone op 18 for the crisis suits, there is a variant of this where I've got crisis units in here, but it's not felt as effective. And this archetype, I have had either nothing but success, or in a worst case scenario where a Thousand Suns list on one of the best Thousand Suns players I've ever met has massed infiltrate, a redeploy for that massed infiltrate, got defender, got first turn, had basically everything go off that he needed to go off, and I drew dead secondaries turn 2 and 3 and whiffed on my shooting. I only lost by like 20, 25 points. If that's my worst case scenario, that is ridiculous. And the staying power that I've got. One of the things that I've actually had to do, and this is where I said you have to rethink how you approach tower lists, is that like I have to make myself go more aggressive than I normally would, because all of this stuff can live on objectives. Like the Pathfinders and Crude Carnivores, they still die. But when your opponent, if they've only got to kill 1 Ghost Kill, or they've got to kill 1 Riptide, then like, okay, fair enough, that's kind of easy. But when they're looking at 6 of these bodies with broadsides dominating fire lanes, little infantry moving around and either move blocking or moving out to get utility, do actions, do whatever you need, like this list just has everything, and it really does live. That Thousand Suns player had a lot of his shooting phases go extremely well, and multiple times had a Riptide or a Ghost Kill live on like 2 wounds, 3 wounds. Yeah, it's bracketed. The Riptide doesn't care about that because -1 to hit. It's got a weapon support system. It doesn't interact with those. And the Ghost Kill, I just healed in the command phase, and you heal before you battle shock check. So I didn't have to battle shock check him because he went back up to 7 wounds. Like it just... This list archetype is so obnoxious for people to deal with. And if positioned, deployed, and moved well, like you have turn 1 where they can't interact with anything. It's lone op and they can't get within 12 because pre-measuring. Your Riptides, you just hide in like certain areas, but you position in a way where you can go super aggressive and overload your opponent with targets that they just can't kill. And if they dedicate everything into the Riptides and the Ghost Kills, then they're not killing your Pathfinders, they're not killing your stealth suits. Most of my games, nobody shot at the stealth suits, not even once. They had too many other big threats to designate any of their shooting across there. I went into a Leagues of Votan game against Flano, who's a member of my team, really great player. He was running 18 of the lethal hits or anti-vehicle 3+ Thunderkin. And like even that matchup, he couldn't believe how much I was living through. And yeah, stuff died. Like you're still going to have stuff trading. That's a part of the game. But like I am constantly blown away every time I play this. And not against scrubs. I want to highlight that. Now, one caveat that I do need to put out, I need tournament data from this because of my situation and whatever right now. I haven't been able to hit a ton of tournaments, but I've not been practicing against people that I would just face roll and stomp. I'm playing against people that are as good as, if not better than me, and getting results every single time. And I've been so excited by this list archetype that I have ignored, it's hard to specify without going into my personal shit, but basically, like, it took me a few days to get on camera. I'm suffering from PTSD, but I've been so excited by this that wanting to get this information out there overrode all the shit that's been going on. And I hope that conveys to people that, like, I'm not just talking out my ass with this. Like, this is a genuine list archetype that I haven't seen anybody running. As far as I know, Dubsy put it up as a meme and I've refined it into something that is, like, actually a fucking banger. And I would love it, like, you know, John from Tau Tactics, if he sees this video, I would love him to take this archetype to a tournament, as I'm not able to until, like, November or, like, the end of the year or something, and confirm or deny if this is a fucking banger list. And anybody else out there that's a really good Tau player, I would love to get your feedback and whether this is something that, like, you know, if this is in a tournament environment, what I'm thinking it is. Because we don't lack for damage. Everything's like damage 2 or above. A lot of it is damage 3 or 4. And people have been talking up Terminators at the moment. Riptides and Ghost Kills love that shit because everything that goes through is a dead Terminator. And let's talk about your ability to kill things. You're doing so with 2 of the best damage strats in the game, in my opinion, which is that you just broadly have access to +1 strength and -1 AP, or sustained and lethal hits. Those are incredibly good, especially because we've got access to rerolls with stealth suits. And, you know, pair that with the Riptide having devastating wounds once per game, you've got sustained, even just sustained hits on its own. Like lethal hits, it feels like counter synergy, but you've got to remember you're skipping the wound step and getting more through than you would because you're mitigating the number of lost rolls that you would have. So it actually still does work out. But sustained hits add extra dice in. For each of those lethal hits, you're adding a dice back in. So you're technically coming out ahead and still getting just as many chances of devastating wounds. And even on things like your Pathfinders, having damage support for them is incredibly good. And you don't need to take the hazardous. You go, say, like sustained hits on the Pathfinders when you're going into a Horde unit, it's just a shitload of volume. And they're guiding for themselves, so they're hitting on 3s, they've got marker light support, they don't even need the stealth suits. You can use them, but they don't need them. Or you go lethal hits into a big target, and you can still get wounds through against something, and even if it's on a 3-up armor save, whatever, as most vehicles are, they're going to fail some of those, which means after a grenade from those Pathfinders, then those wounds, like that vehicle after taking like a single Riptide shooting, is likely dead if the Riptide doesn't kill it on its own. So if I can bring myself to get on camera again, I'll want to do more videos talking about positioning and deployment and all that sort of good stuff. If you want to be able to support me and the channel, especially through like one of the worst periods of my life, I'll get access to coaching for yourself. Have a look at our Patreon, have a look at our website where we've got coaching stuff that you can buy at any time. I want to say a massive thank you to my community, to my Patreon subscribers. I'm not exaggerating when I say this has been the worst period of my life, genuinely. And they have kept me going so much. They've stopped Chelsea and I from losing our home. It is, I cannot believe how lucky we've gotten with all of the support that we've gotten from my community. So to everybody, thank you so much. For everybody that is here just for the list and for the talk about that, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one. For everybody that has stuck around for the personal stuff, so I have been diagnosed with PTSD and major depressive disorder, to the shock of absolutely fucking nobody, myself or Chelsea. So we are, and all of this has been caused by my previous workplace. We are about to go into a legal battle with them. We're basically suing them for negligence, as I was getting abused and assaulted regularly by a manager, and they supported him in the face of evidence. I have a lot of evidence showing what I'm talking about. And this was over a course of like 2.5 years. Like if you go back through my YouTube, you can actually see sort of a trend of like my mental health declining, and me suffering from all this stuff that I was having to compartmentalize to keep my job, because I fucking love my job. I really, really do. And it's kind of been stolen from me. I would have happily stayed there till I died. Or content became self-sufficient and I was able to live a different dream. But like, yeah, so I don't really know what's coming for the future. It is looking promising that I have so much evidence against them that things hopefully go my way. There's going to be a lot of change on the personal side, but I do want to go back to doing content because, like, it's being classed as work for me at the moment, but I don't really see it as that. I love engaging with people. I love talking about something I love, and if necessary, I will just turn off all monetization and just do this as a side hobby free thing. But at the moment, I'm kind of trapped in a cycle of things, both my own degrading mental health. I say degrading, but I'm already like, this is pretty much as bad, I think, as it's going to get, and it's not going to recover anytime soon. But also restrictions put on me by this process. Now, this isn't me being like, oh, people go and sign up to my Patreon or whatever else. This isn't a call for like pity or whatever. But, I haven't been gone for a long time, and I'm a communicator naturally. I don't mind sharing what's going on with me and being vulnerable or whatever else. Like, so like, I don't want anybody to think that this is like, you have to go and do something right now. Absolutely not. But just people knowing where I'm at, people knowing that like, I'm not quitting YouTube. I'm not going away. I want to get back to it as soon as I can. But I'm just caught in circumstances that don't allow me to, and it fucking sucks. And I hate it so much, but it's where we're at. I hope you guys really enjoy the list archetype. Let me know how you're going with it. I always love getting DMs from people. Christopher Harmon, thank you so much for like reaching out and messaging me. Alex from Germany, who messages me regularly, went through his own cancer battle and everything else, and checks in with me every now and again. Like, I really do appreciate people reaching out and also understanding if I can't like really engage in a lot of conversations. Like, they just understand that I'm not doing well, and that messages of support are really appreciated. And like, I'm blanking on names, but there are so many other people that message me on like Facebook or Discord or whatever. Like, I appreciate every single one of you. I really, really do. It's nice to know that I'm not forgotten, even though I'm not in the public eye at the moment. But yeah, let me know what you think about the list and everything. We're going to keep cooking it in the Discord. So if you're not a member of the Discord, even just like 1 month in the $5 Patreon gets you access to it. So if that's something you're interested in, obviously no pressure for anybody to do it. But once you're in, I don't remove people unless you do something shitty enough to make me kick you. And I haven't had to do that yet, which is great. But yeah, I'll be posting more videos about this when I can bring myself to. But this is the most excited I've been about Tau in a long time. And I genuinely think I have found an archetype of list that nobody is playing, or like, yes, people are using Riptides. Yes, people are using Ghost Kills. But this list as a backbone of just being unkillable is a really fun style of Tau list. And you still kill stuff in return, like really freaking easy. But yeah, love you all, miss you all, and we'll see you when I'm able to see you.